Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to Patriot James Talk Show. Tonight we got some special guests. We got Jelena, Catherine, and Danny on here tonight with us as a special guest. But let's get this show started by saying God bless America. God bless each and every one of you and your families. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal or endowed by their creator by certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And tonight, our happiness, we're going to be talking about some catfishing. Thank y'all for coming in with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
No problem.
All righty. We're going to get this show started. We're going to holler out a few people right quick, if you don't mind. Oh, we got a pile of them coming in. We got 27 right now. They'll pile in here. We got Avid, Chad, Creole, Lynn, Leaper, Muskrat's in the house. I think y'all know Mr. Muskrat, don't you? Country Boy Fishing, Team Camo, Avid, Muskrat. Y'all know him too?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Good. We get plenty of them coming in here. Liam, David Martin, he's a good friend of mine. He just got a set of special made. I made them in yellow, and I don't offer the yellow because you can't hardly get them yellow pool noodles, but I was able to find him one to make him up some. Mike Irvin, Hooked with D. Who else we got in here? They'll come in. I think I seen Catfish Weekly a minute ago. Carolina Catfish, Country Boy. But anyway, there's Catfish Weekly. Maurice is in the house. Mr. Maurice is always in everybody's live streams, giving everybody a lot of support. I'm sure he's checked out your stuff. There's Epic, PD Fisherman, Epic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to pick your brains first. We'll go over a few basic questions. I guess your boat and your tackle. What kind of boat do y'all normally fish out of?
Pro Cat, 240. Okay. Yamaha 250 show on the back of her.
Oh, that moves that thing on down the water pretty good.
Slide on down the river a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And I see you got your sponsors on your jerseys and stuff like that. And we'll allow you to do some shout outs to your sponsors closer to the end of the show, because they do help y'all get to where you're at today. And I do, and it's always appreciated for them too. Junior War Scout, Team Wampus Cat. That's my other buddy. That's a funny name, Wampus Cat. Good old boy. Y'all like him, a good old country boy. But now what kind of rods and reels that you usually throw out there?
We B&M rods, mostly Abu reels, 6,500.
Little known fact, B&M is actually in our hometown.
Yep.
Brooms and mops.
That's sweet. That's good. That's good sponsorship, and that's good keeping the money right there local. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Now, biggest question everybody wants to know: braid or mono?
Both.
Both. Depends on what you're doing.
There you
Mississippi
go.
River is braid. If we on the Tennessee River dragging planer boards or something like that, of course that board's going to clip on mono better than it would braid.
Right.
I mean, I have no preference. It's the difference from Ford, Chevy. It's just whatever works for you.
There you go. There you go. Mainly on, like you said, the river. Is it because of the less drag through your braid? The reason you mainly use it on the current?
Yeah, 50-pound test about the max that I use on my rods. Just because it's a small line, and we usually fish in deep and really swift water.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So,
guys and gals that's in chat, that's another little detail why they use certain things certain ways. So pay attention. There's going to be a lot of good little bitty details that we bring out tonight.
There's a reason for everything.
anything over 50-pound test on that Mississippi River in deeper water will vibrate. And I feel like if I can feel that vibration, that fish can feel that vibration. So I try to get a small line. Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Y'all mainly drag or anchor or how do y'all make it?
All above. Anchor fish, spot lock. I mean, I do not throw an anchor out in the Mississippi River.
But it probably wouldn't be real safe either, would it?
No, that's the reason. It's a safety factor. I mean, you never know when a tree or whatever could come rolling down that thing.
Yeah. In fact, somebody, Wampus Cat I was talking about, he was up in one of the rivers and those moving water good. And up in that lake, if they're moving water, you hit the river section of it in that lake. And they had a big old tree with a whole root system get hung up in their daggum anchor ropes. And he was in a big pontoon boat, and they had a mess.
Yeah.
He said it got scary real quick. So I agree. I appreciate you sharing that safe information with us. Anything else safety wise as far as rivers that y'all want to pass along?
If you're on the Mississippi River, you better have a Navy Honest card. I do know it was some bad things that went on over there on the Mississippi River this past winter. It was some boys lost their lives, and I think it was just they didn't have the proper electronics to let them know where the rock dikes was. You need a Navy Honest card with rock dikes. Them rock dikes stick out of that river some places a half a mile. So you do not run down the bank of the Mississippi River. You stay out in between them buoys.
Yeah.
It may be a half a mile over to the bank, but it don't matter. You stay out in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I always encourage people to actually go back and use Google Earth, because Google Earth, you can go back in the timeline and see when there's low water times and stuff like that, and mark them on a map on your GPS. Go back out there on your daggum thing and mark it on there that, hey, this is something there, because at high water time, you might not see all that stuff.
Yep.
Right.
So, they're all tools.
The Lake Master card doesn't have the rock dikes. Navy Onyx does. That's the reason I suggest everyone have a Navy Onyx card.
Good information. Good information. I did not know that.
Yes, sir. I have both.
You can run both cards.
Didn't know that either. So y'all just full of all kind of great information tonight. Appreciate you sharing that. Now y'all fished a lot of the wing dikes and stuff like that?
Mostly we fish brush piles or ledges in the river. I just can't get it done behind that wing dike. I got to find that brush pile or that ledge out there in that river.
So y'all mainly love the river channel itself, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Swifter water.
There you go. Well, I've seen the pictures of the fish and seen the videos, so you're doing something right. That's a fact. Go ahead.
Bumping will always be my favorite technique of fishing.
Yeah.
It's just something about bumping that bait down the bottom of the river, and when that fish hits it and it pulls it and it's in your hand, it ain't nothing like it in the world.
Absolutely.
And how many rods have you lost doing it?
A couple. I broke a couple. Yeah.
Because I know from years ago, bass fishing, especially like throwing an old topwater buzz bait or something, you get into that routine. Or you bump, and I can see you getting into that routine, and then all of a sudden, bam, you dang near let go of a rod or something. I can see that actually happening. But we only got lakes out here, so we don't get to bump.
Right.
But we do get some flooding waters, and Lake Wiley starts flooding. And I'm sure the first 2 or 3 days of running water, you could probably bump. But them old lazy lake fish, after about 2 or 3 days of current, they ready to go lay down somewhere. They ready to get out of that current. So what really got you started on bumping? Just watching some other people and thought, we need to try that. That's a different technique, and I can see it working for the way I fish or you fish.
Getting my butt kicked, getting beat up in tournaments.
Yeah.
It's just a success. At the right time of year, it's one of the best techniques you can use on the water that we fish, which is the Mississippi River, anywhere from Caruthersville, Missouri south. Of course, on up the Mississippi River, it works also. But springtime through late fall, bumping is nothing like it in the world.
That's good. That's and sometimes necessity causes you to do things a little different than what you out of the norm. And I agreed. Now, as far as the bumping, are both of you or all three of you able to bump on the same boat?
Yeah.
All three of us do it at the same time.
I'll run a little bit lighter weight, and I'll put my hook in the water first, and I'll get way out there, and then they'll take off with a weight a 1 ounce heavier than what I'm using. So that keeps them closer to the boat, and I have one rod way out there.
So we bumped 3 across the back.
That's teamwork right there.
It requires a lot of communication and a lot of vigilance, because if not, you will knit a monster that you'll never get undone.
Yeah, it's teamwork. There's a lot of communication has to go on to do it. But whenever I catch a fish, they have to reel up. I mean, if they catch a fish, I keep on fishing.
Yeah, because you're so far back.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah, yes. Sometimes I might be 500-600 feet behind the boat.
And the 6500s is giving you enough line to do that?
Yes, sir. With that small 50.
I'll be dang. That's good information. I mean, hopefully one day I can do it. I've only seen the Mississippi one time, and I've seen it from an airplane flying over it and back in it, and it just amazed me. I thought that if you're not raised on that water, what you said earlier, you need to have somebody to take you out the first couple times just to learn and actually get the feel of it, because I could see that water be intimidating.
Yeah.
You want me to tell them, Mayo?
It's big water.
I can tell a great story right quick from one of my buddies that lives over on the Mississippi River. I think it was 3 weeks ago. I have a full enclosure on my boat. It's built off of the bimini top, so it's 7 foot off the floor. I was letting him drive the boat because he lives on the Mississippi River. I'm not going to tell his name, Brian Mayo. I was letting him drive down the river, and we seen whitecaps across the river, and they went from one side to the other. Long story short, we kept going, and we went through those waves, and the water went over the top of the bimini top on the Sea Arthur.
It was wild.
It was one wild ride. Thank goodness for the enclosure.
Dang right.
Yep, 7 foot tall is what the bimini is, and it went over the top and washed my Yamaha on the back.
Dang right.
Like
I do too. I don't want to do it.
Yep.
Pucker factor 0.
Pucker factor 0.
Yes.
I mean, was that flooding waters, or was that something just out of the
It was
norm?
just a perfect storm. We had a wind out of the south. A humongous tow had just went up the river. And when I say a big tow, he's probably 8 wide, 8 long, and a super barge pushing it. So he'll tear up the river for 5 miles behind him. And there was a pinch point with the wind, and he had just went up, and so it was just a perfect storm. I mean, we hit it at the wrong time.
And it ain't no time to let off the gas. Then you better hammer down and ride it out.
That's all you can do is just give her a little gas and stick the nose up.
Yeah, and I think that happens a lot of times, that when people freak out, they have a tendency to let off of that gas.
Yeah,
and that's when you get a flush of water into your boat and put you in a bad situation. Best thing to do is hammer down and drive through it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
I have to say that the top that we had made, it saved us that day, because we didn't have not even a 1/4 inch of water come through the bottom of the boat. It all went around and over. So we had our top made by an Amish guy in Etheridge, Tennessee.
So that's what I was getting ready to ask you. If you want to give him a shout out right now while we're talking about it, go ahead.
It might take him a while to get there.
But what I'm saying is that, does he do talks for other people?
Yes.
Yes, he does.
He does a fabulous job. It's quality work. There's been no problems with it whatsoever. The wind stays out of it. It just kind of looks like an Amish buggy going down the river.
hey, if it does the job, I wouldn't complain one daggum bit what it looked like. If it looked like a UFO.
Yeah, I didn't snap it to the windshield. It snaps to the front deck, so it's a little bit bigger. That gives them an area in front of the windshield to do some of the things that they need to do when they're out on the water.
I understand. I totally understand.
That gives them a hiding place, I guess you'd say.
There you go.
There's not a lot of leaves in the fall.
Got to do what we got to do. James has his link posted. I don't know. Somebody, if y'all can find it, post that link up. Somebody's asking about it.
Here's the thing. It's Amish country, so they have no electricity.
I can
You
post the address and
You have to write him a letter,
have to write them a letter.
and then he'll write you a letter back.
I got the address from a friend of mine and just drove up there, left the boat, went back and picked it up 1 week later.
Okay.
So you can write him over and he'll put you in or whatever, or just take it up there and be prepared to leave it, and he will do it. I've seen him probably a half a dozen times since he's done mine, and he loves doing them.
No, that's good. That's good. And we've got a couple Amish cabinets and stuff at the house that are, the quality of the work is just unreal.
It's unmatched from the quality of his work is unmatched from anything else you'll get.
There you go. Somebody
He's super nice. He's super nice. It's just him and his wife that do it.
As long as you're getting quality work and it's something that you can trust, if something goes wrong, you know you can take it back, and they stand on their work. That means the world. Before we go too far, if you don't mind, y'all let them know they want to know where to find you on Facebook, YouTube, or whatever that y'all do. Just let them know where they can find and watch y'all.
I mean, all of us are on Facebook.
We're on Facebook. I've been thinking about trying to do a YouTube channel, but
There's just
nowhere
we don't
near.
have the time.
Yeah, I work 2 jobs. She works full time. He works full time. So
I work full time, part time, sometimes.
I work full time all the time, and then most of the time.
Well, you're a nurse, ain't you, Jolena?
I'm not. I'm actually reception at a doctor's office.
Okay, I seen the medical field part of it. I didn't know exactly what you were, so
She can build the hell out of me.
she said it, I didn't. Oh Lord. So when you're out there bumping around like that, is there something that you say, all right, this is the part of the river that I want to bump in? What makes that stand out besides what you're looking at on that graph?
Current speed.
Current speed.
Yeah.
Structure on the bottom.
What the current's doing. Is it weird?
It depends on the rise and fall of the river too,
Mm-hmm.
as to what area you want to fish.
Water temperature.
Right. The reason I'm asking that, I know some people look for current seams, and they look for the back eddies where you can see the water, running back up river or whatever, and they might bump through those holes or stuff. Is that something that y'all look for as far as the deeper holes that you might want to bump through, start bumping before you ever get there, and then really start paying attention when you know your baits are getting to that area?
I look for structure. I mean, I'm looking for logs, rocks, concrete riprap. Over there on the Mississippi River, they have slabs of concrete that's just eroded and slipped off into the river. I mean, anything like that that's going to hold that fish is what you want to look for. It's not. I don't do sandbars. You can catch fish on sandbars over there, but nah, it ain't my speed.
Right.
Bumping 3 wide, we actually have a wider footprint that we cover. So, if somebody catches one on the outside and nobody's catching anything on the inside, well, we may bump over a little.
Makes sense. That's paying attention to what the fish are wanting. Somebody, Creole, he caught him a good fish his first daggum time bumping, a good fish. So he was asking let me roll back up here. Something about what temperature do you stop bumping? I think that's what it was.
In the fall, I mean, it's going to depend on the weather. So usually around 60 degrees, I'm going to put that bumping rod down.
Let's see. Yeah, what water is too cold for you to bump?
For 60 degrees or below, I put me personally. I mean, you can catch fish out there, but it will change. The activity of the fish will change once it gets to 60, and bumping, you just lose it on bumping. You need to go to spot locking or anchor fishing and just maybe slip that bait back there and let it set in their face a little longer than bumping where you're actually going too fast for them.
Gotcha. What speed do y'all usually bump at?
It just depends, anywhere from 1 mile an hour to 4 miles an hour. I mean, we sometimes getting it.
Whatever the current is on the river, you try to cut that in half.
Yeah, that's a general rule. Cut it in half.
Because if you go any slower, then it don't really look that natural, does it?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So
you want that bait to be as natural as possible.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to ask you. Is the presentation that y'all are looking for is the most natural for that bait to be coming? Because usually your bottom current is a lot slower than your top current.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're looking at. Somebody want to know what electronics are y'all using?
I'm a bird. Solix 15.
Got a good picture on them things, don't it?
Yes, it does.
Buddy of mine, he finally jumped over to the hummingbird wampus cat, and that's it amazed me. He's got the Helix 12, or I don't think he's got the 15. He's got the new 12. And he said, "Come on." I looked at that thing. I said, "Man, yeah, that old stuff ain't doing it no justice no more, man. Straining my eyes trying to see something on it." Now, do y'all ever use like the side scans much on your electronics, or
Every log I look for is a side scan.
Yeah.
I don't know how I made it so many years without a side scan.
so before tournaments, do y'all do a lot of just riding and looking without ever putting any baits in the water?
Yep. Yeah.
We ride and look each time we go out, just to see which area that we're familiar with that the fish are in.
Your friend Camo wants to know something about the tails.
The tail is a good bait.
Yes.
Do not throw your tail away. That is a awesome bait.
Thank you. I have said that for years. I personally, I can't prove it. I'm not a biologist or nothing to do. I can't lay that fish open and say there's a gland right there. But I honestly believe there's something to that tail. There's a gland or something.
There's a lot of blood in that bone. There's a lot of blood in that bone.
Brian may have proved that to us.
When you do a flapper rig, please tell me you don't throw that bone away.
No.
Thank you. I see people throw that bone away. I thought, you just defeated the purpose. That's the bloodiest part of the fish. There's so much scent there that's in that bone section, because I like to, if I'm going to lay a fillet off one side, I make sure I nick that bone all the way down through there to get that bone to open up and bleed. But as far as the scent, I think that there's something to do with that tail. I'm like y'all. I think there's something to do with it. So Gadget said it kills him to see people throw the chunk of the tail away. It does me too. And I've caught fish on it. I can't say it's better than the other, but I'm like y'all. I think there's something to it.
It depends on the fish. Now, there's some days the tail is what they want. There's some days that they want the head. There's some days that they want the body chunk. So, the fish will tell you.
There's some days they want big pieces. There's some days they want little pieces.
Some days they want head sections, and some days they want fillets, or some days they want body sections. It's all of finding out what the fish want. What is y'all's preferred bait as far as, say, the Mississippi?
Skipjack. That's not because it's better than anything else. It's because it's easy for us to get. So that's what it is. Skipjack is an awesome bait, and it's just easy to get. It's not that it's any better than shad or any better than cut carp or anything like that. It's just easy for us to get.
Right. And I'm going to ask you, we don't have skipjack around here, but I've been hearing over the past, say, 2 years, because the catfish industry is growing. It's going by leaps and bounds, really. Have y'all noticed a decline in the numbers of skipjack?
In places they're going down, and in places down here in the Mississippi, we starting to see them in places we've never seen them before. I caught my first skipjack last week on the Tombigbee River out here, ever. Caught him in a cast net. Never seen one out here.
There you go. Well, I'm gonna hit one. I'm gonna hit him. I hear you. Well, maybe you think that maybe it's the fishing pressure that's causing them to move to different spots, or
I think it's the people taking them around. I mean, I think the people are transporting them as well. I mean, you don't think about it. You go out fishing, you throw one or two that's left in the live well out, and there it is, They're pretty adaptable as well.
Right.
They're pretty hardy fish.
Can you catch skipjack in the winter on the Mississippi?
Catching skipjack? I didn't hear you.
Somebody said, can you catch skipjack in the winter on the Mississippi?
Yes, you can. It's not the easiest thing to do in the wintertime, but it can be done.
Somebody up here on Nelson Waters, he bought some of my floats yesterday. He said, some days they just want strawberry chicken.
That's right.
They will find strawberry chicken.
Hey, I mean, there's a lot of people I have yet to have luck with chicken, but it's not my confident bait, so I don't throw a lot of it. But I know from now on, I'm not leaving the dock without a bag of it on my boat, simply because I've got caught too many times with my pants down and not be able to get bait. Now, y'all don't have white perch out there in your waters, do you?
Are you calling that a crappie?
No, white perch is actually, it looks like a white bass, but it's actually, I don't know what you'd call it. We call it white perch here. They run in real thick, heavy schools. About like what a white bass would do.
Yes, it might be we got a couple of different strains of the striper bass out here.
Right. These are thick schools. That was one of the main things we used around here in some of our local lakes because there are just so freaking many of them. And the Lake Wiley, where I'm holding that tournament, we don't have striper in that water. Now, there are a few striper in there, but ever since the white perch got introduced into that lake, I think they introduced it a while back to give crappie fishermen and small fishermen something extra to catch, not realizing without striper in that water, they just took off. You can come over them with a graph and it looks like spaghetti on the bottom on your graph. It's just so freaking many of them. But it's a good bait. And I think that was one of the major reasons why Wiley has actually boomed as far as weight on catfish. But flatheads, do y'all do good with flatheads in your
That's what we have. We have flatheads.
I think I can. That's all of our favorite.
That's
really.
what I cut my teeth fishing for was catfish, flatheads.
And they're not shovel nose, right? They're flatheads.
They're flatheads.
We got some people who still call them.
Spoonbill.
Oh, spoonbill. Okay.
No white perch here. Yeah, when the white perch got introduced, Lake Wiley used to have some of the biggest white bass. I used to love I'm talking about 2 and 3 pound white bass. Just love catching them. Since the white perch, you won't see a white bass in that water no more. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just they wiped out their habitat or if there was just so many of them that eventually, because the white perch will even eat itself. They're just like, they'll eat anything. They're crazy. You can get one and cut up the belly meat off the bottom of them, that's real tough meat, and that's the best bait to catch them with their self. So it's a good bait. A lot of people love it. Now flatheads, let's pick a little bit more brains about your flatheads. Do you do good bumping for your flatheads, or is that more of a stationary?
No, that's a stationary finesse fishing.
You can, But
I seen one. Catherine caught one about 4 pounds.
It was a fluke.
Yeah, he was retarded.
It was not.
Oh, y'all funny. I mean, there are certain seasons when the flatheads are up and moving. I guess it's time when they're getting ready to go on the spawn, so they're looking for mates and stuff like that. I'm sure that they can be caught doing that, but I'm like you. I'm looking for that shovel head. That's what they call them, not shovel nose, shovel heads.
I say personally, flathead fishing requires more science. You got to pay more attention to your water temperatures, your air temperatures, your humidities, all of those fun things, because it just takes one thing being out of balance, and they're so picky. They're just not.
But I'm going to ask you a question that is something that's near and dear to my heart. Me and Wampus Cat has talked about it so much. You think once big fish, both blue and flatheads, but mainly flatheads, you think once they get to a certain size that they really, become a homebody? They find them a hole. That's their hole. That's where they're going to live out their life. The bait's there, the food's there, the shelter's there, everything's there. They searched their life to find that hole. Do you believe that that is something that's maybe true?
I think he'll stay close. I mean, as far as just one hole in the river, maybe not, but he's going to stay close. I don't think he'll travel very far.
Now, out there in the rivers like that, a lot of y'all's structural stuff that you fish, I'm sure during floods, that stuff gets changed up and moved around on it.
Yeah.
So the only really thing that stays a constant is some of the wing downs, and they even get tore up sometimes, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but now, do y'all look for like some of the older barges that's been sitting there for years and don't get moved?
Yeah, well, my favorite ones are the ones that's on the bottom of the river.
Absolutely.
The sunken ones. And that's a good habitat for them.
Well, if for somebody that's new to getting out there, how would they approach that fishing a barge? Both sunken and one still above. So, it gives y'all all three something to talk about here for a minute.
Anybody want to go first?
I'll take the easy one, the one above the water. When they're loading the barge, some people say when they're loading barges, they see more fish in the area. I think it draws more fish to that area of the river. I think in the smaller rivers like we have back here, when they're loading barges, we see a difference because they only load in certain spaces. It's not loading barges on the Mississippi River. We can say there's an uptick, when they're loading the barges with certain things. As far as it being a definitive, who knows? It's like anything else.
But how would you approach fishing that barge?
Anchor fishing, if you can, spot locking, fishing around it, fishing structure around it. The fish aren't going to be sitting out there in open water. They're going to be sitting in structure around it waiting for bait fish. You fish their habitat. You got to, go to them a little bit.
Right. Now, when you fishing up there, say up beside them barges or stuff, so you're trying to entice them to come out to that bait. Are they a technique, a way of trying to get your baits up and under that barge, or is this just something you got to say, I got to leave it out here?
Yeah, you can spot lock or anchor up in front of it, and you'll have to go through several weights, but you can find the right weight that will walk under that barge and find a place to set down. You may have to start off with a 4 and then change to a 5 and go to a 6, 7, 8, and so on until you find that weight that will go so far out there and sit down.
Got you.
I like whenever they're loading the barges, and I like bumping a little bit downstream because their spillage is going to float downstream just a little bit. If you can find that sweet spot where the grain's hitting the bottom and you bump down through there, we've had a lot of success doing that.
Catfish belly slam full of it, ain't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Term of day.
I've heard that for years.
Yeah.
I've heard that for years from people that lived out in the Mississippi that they'd catch them fish out there around them grain barges and silos and stuff out there from the spillage. The dirt bellies would be bulging full of that stuff.
They'll fill your live well up full with it too during tournament day. Long enough.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that makes a mess. All right, buddy. Danny, tell me about the sunken barges.
Now, you just want to. The hardest thing is finding one. Ain't nobody gonna tell you where a good sunken barge is at. Once you can find one, and it's gonna depend how deep it is. I mean, if it's 80 foot deep and gonna be a 4 miles an hour current, then you're gonna have to get on up above it, 200 feet, 300 feet maybe, and put on a 12, 10, whatever, a heavy weight, and walk that bait back there until it gets to about, and a line counter reel. You also need a line counter reel so you know how far you are away from your target.
That was my next question. Do y'all use line counters?
Every one of my
Yes.
reels do have line counters. Pipeline tackle custom line counters on all of my 6500s.
If we didn't have line counters, we couldn't bump 3 wide.
Right.
Yeah, even it takes a line. Well, you have to have line counters, so I know how far I am out, and then I'll make them fish closer, or vice versa. One of them may be further out, and that helps me stay closer or whatever. Because you want to stay at least 100 feet apart. If not, you'll be tangled up.
Right. So
Different leaves also give us a larger footprint in the water also. So.
right. What's their deepest water they fish? That's from Daniel Ishmael.
That box of Mississippi up there on the Mississippi, just below Memphis, I've fished it at 130 foot. Bumping
You
it.
get a fish that deep, you got to take your time getting him up or her up.
Depends. That's what she called her retarded flathead.
He was hanging out over in the shallows. I was bumping closest to the bank, and he was over there. I don't know what he was doing.
That's called handy tard. That's what the wife calls me, a handy tard.
But the river was way up then. I mean, it's usually 110, 120 foot. But that day, the river was way up, and it was 130 something feet when we went over it.
Now, you got to use a lot of weight right there in that deep of water, don't you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Depends on the current.
It depends on the current.
Right. Well, yeah, it makes sense.
5 or 6 ounces, 400 feet behind you.
There you go. Roger wants to know what kind of line counters y'all running.
I had pipeline tackle, coring them up there with pipeline, put line counters on my 6500s.
Now I've got some old 6000s that I'd love to have them reworked. And a local guy, he can go through them, put new drags in them or whatever. But I love them old 6000s. They're red. And I'm gonna have my 6500s done in white. I'm gonna get them dipped white. And of course I got my blue rockets, 6500 rockets on my Burke rods. So I want to have some red, white, and blues. So I thought about sending them to pipeline.
Yeah.
They also dip them, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
He quit that.
Oh,
He quit that. He quit that.
Yeah, I don't know if the dip or if I'm gonna have to get them painted because I don't know if the dip will withstand the abuse of a catfisherman.
Yeah, at one time they were Cerakoting them, but hey man, he's got so many reels that he ain't got.
He ain't got time to do that. Right.
Once you get one back, it's
And of course, I had power
amazing.
handles put on them.
Right. So yeah, I'm glad y'all said that because a lot of people's asked about line counters. I know Lyle, he said that he loves them. You got to have them when you river fishing.
Yeah.
That's a necessity. That's just
It'll help you stay competitive if you're on the tournament side to know where your hook's at. It's got to help.
I mean, we use them when we drag baits.
Yeah, dragging baits, you got to know.
Actually, we use them dragging, we use them bumping, and we use them spot locking.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Well, yeah, I mean, it helps, especially if you're moving way up off a piece of structure and you want to make sure you put your bait right back in that spot. Line counter comes in perfect. You know, we're out here in lakes, we'll come by and throw a crappie buoy out and mark it with a buoy or something like that. With a line counter, you really don't have to do that if you can go by your electronics and trust what your electronics is telling you.
Right.
I mean, we run digital and analog line counters.
There you go, people. More little tips of the trade. Now, we're gonna kind of bug you a little bit. When you're setting up and you're anchoring up, and I know y'all, from what I've understood, y'all love your structure tremendously, and that's what everybody needs to learn to fish structure.
If
Do
you
y'all
ain't
go?
If you ain't fishing structure and getting hung, you're not fishing. That's my theory.
So you're going in after them.
Yeah. You got to go where they at. I mean, yeah, you can catch a big fish out on a sandbar or a flat every so often, but 9 times out of 10, he's going to be at home.
Right. But what I'm saying is, so you're actually going into the structure to get him. So you're locking your drags down on them 6500s to get him up and out of that structure.
Yeah. And out there, whenever you when you hook up to a fish, you don't reel the fish to you. You turn the spot lock off and go to the fish. Yeah. There's no reeling the fish to you. That's not going to happen.
There's too much current.
Yeah, too much current, too deep. You turn it as soon as you get a good fish on, you know it's a good fish. Turn it, clear the other rods, turn that spot lock off, and go to it.
Right. That's why, I was talking about Wampus Cat. He likes fishing structure. He goes with the 7000s because the 7000s got more line, but it's got a heavier drag system on it. It is a bigger reel, but it's got a lot heavier drag system on it. But that's what I was going to ask you about pipeline. Can they put more drag system on a 6500?
They redid all of our Abus and they put a drag system in it and the bearings and things.
Yeah, I didn't know. I know you're going with a better drag system. It's a lot smoother drag system, but I didn't know if they could increase the poundage of your drag or not.
Yes, it's increased a little bit. I haven't put a scale on it. I mean, I haven't maxed it down and put a scale on it and see what it'll be, but by hand it's definitely significant.
Right. Good. That's good to know. Because there are times when you got to lock it down to get their heads turned, and you can get them coming up at least away from, if nothing else, your anchor rope or a piece of structure that you know's there that you got to turn him and then lighten up. Because if you're new to the channel or if you're new to fishing, guys and gals, allow your rod and reel to do the job that they was designed to do. You got to flex in your rod, you got a drag system, you got a stretch in your line, or unless you're using braid, the lack of stretch. Then if you're using braid, you better depend on the rod and the reel to do the job it was designed to do.
Yep.
And when it gets closer to the boat, you better lighten it up, because them hard last runs can break. Something's going to give. Like you said before we went live about breaking rods, it happens.
It happens.
Make the best of it and keep on digging. Don't get discouraged. Just throw it down, grab a nut, and put another bait back in there. Say that's one that got away. And sometimes they don't get away. Then you got a heck of a fight on your hands.
Absolutely.
Right. Yes, right.
Now, do y'all do much lake fishing?
Yeah, a little bit. We go to Tennessee River and fish their lakes up there some.
Right.
Pigwig, Wilson, Wheeler, and Gunnersville.
Right. But you love is the river.
That's it. That's why I get up and go to work every morning. I raised my kids, and now it's my time.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. They made you a grandpa yet?
Yep.
In October. This past October. Yeah.
So congratulations. I got 5 grandbabies. Two of them red-headed, wild little boys. Well, they ain't little boys no more. Getting ready to turn 17 and 15.
Wow.
Bright red hair, wide open boys. I'm surprised they ain't in chat tonight. So, but your blues. Let's go ahead and hit them up. I know people's wanting to know. What y'all's PBs on blues and what your PBs on flats?
They might not want me to comment. I'm 90 pounds on blues, 79 pounds on flathead.
My blue was 77 and my flathead was 34.
My blue was 49 and my flathead was 38, 37, 38. 38.
You caught it with it.
That's some good flatheads. So you got that in a wheeler?
That was the first fish we caught in Chick Fight year before last.
Dang.
Actually, that was the first catfish put in their boat.
Yeah.
Brand new Pro Cat. Broke it in on Chick Fight.
There you go. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, while you brought that up, let's talk a little bit about Chick Fight. Explain a little bit of what it is, ladies, and are they going to be holding a tournament this year?
It's an all-ladies tournament. It's headed up by Melinda Bryan Folsom. The ladies are allowed to have a male driver if they need one, but that's all he can do. He can only drive.
You must handcuff them to the steering wheel.
Worst dad ever.
They can't fix anything. They can't cut anything. They can't bait anything. They can't net anything. They can cuss a lot. They can pray to Jesus. Drink a lot of Mountain Dews.
Video the floor.
Take lots of videos of the floor.
Y'all had so much fun.
We had
Gail.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
It was really amazing. They had it on Wheeler that first year they did it. It was perfect time of the year to be fishing up there in the springtime. It was the beginning of April. Really couldn't ask for better water, better weather. It was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good turnout. Of course, COVID canceled it last year.
Mm-hmm.
They are bringing it back this year.
It's going to be May the 1st, and it's on Watts Bar in Rockwood, Tennessee.
We actually went up there in anticipation, not this past November, but the November before, to kind of get some, I guess, familiarity with the water, try to sort it out, and then we didn't get to use it.
Yeah. It's gorgeous water, by the way.
It's beautiful water. I mean, you'll sit there on the water and forget you're fishing because you're sitting there staring at the mountains.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And you know, that to me is fishing. That right there is enjoying what the good Lord has blessed us with. And it ain't all about putting fish in the boat. It's just out enjoying what he's blessed us with.
Absolutely.
I'm to the point in my life where the fish don't even matter no more. As long as I'm out there, I'm fine with it.
Yes, it's my happy place.
One question that I usually try to ask everybody: do you still get excited when that little bitty bobber and a little brim hits that and jerks it underneath the water?
Hey.
I love brim fishing.
To me, if you no longer get excited by seeing that little bobber taking off and you know it ain't nothing but a little old brim, then it's time to sell your fishing rods and find you a new hobby.
I chased a daggum pool catfish around the pond about 3 years ago because he stole my good bobber. I got back.
Oh. So how many people did y'all have in the first Chick Fight tournament, and what are y'all expecting out of this next one coming up?
We had 50 boats it was the first annual. I'm not sure how many are on the boat list currently.
I know they were hitting close to 75 before they had to postpone it. I think the goal was to try to grow it to 75 to 100 boats. Mm-hmm. They do allow only 2 women in the boat unless one of them is older or younger.
Yeah.
So
65
Camo
or
said
older.
something. Right. Camo said something about he wished that they would bump it up to 3.
Absolutely.
yes.
Oh, I wish.
I wish.
Yes.
I've actually messaged Melinda several times asking about the 3 team member. I even asked about, maybe having 3 team members if we didn't have, because we plan on not using a driver this
I'm not
year.
gonna be there.
He's going to be on the dock,
Yeah, he's going to stay on the land.
pacing a hole.
You got his pom-poms for him, so rah, rah, ree. Rah.
But yeah, we asked, I have pleaded with her to let us have 3 team members if we didn't have a driver. But she is still 2. So
they are encouraging, there's extra incentives if you do not have a male driver. And it's kind of to encourage women to get used to driving a boat, even though it's not your boat, and the husband or uncle or friend or brother or whomever may drive the boat. Every time you go out on the water, everybody in the boat needs to know how to drive a boat. You don't know.
I kind of agree with that.
You don't know.
Agree with that for safety reasons. You never know what might happen, that everybody, even if you got kids on the boat, one of them needs to know how to at least throttle up, drive it to safety.
Yep.
But now, as far as the tournament side of it, I don't really know what one more would hurt. But I don't know.
I don't know all of the reasoning. So.
I don't know, as long as it's 8-rod limit, it wouldn't matter if it was 12 people in the boat, as long as it's 8-rod limit.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, 3 team members will be fine. If it's just a 3-fish tournament, that's not going to exceed the state laws as far as size.
Right,
So.
right. Well, I mean, that all comes into play is the rules and regulations of your state and the waters that you're fishing on, and the safety. That safety should be first and foremost on anything.
Absolutely.
Because we do lose people. Roger said his wife can't drive a car. He ain't gonna let her drive the boat. What is? Yeah, I know somebody's gonna be in the doghouse tonight. So at y'all's weigh-ins at the chick fight, is it more a camaraderie, everybody patting each other on the back and saying, ladies, y'all done a good job, we enjoyed it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, there was fishermen that are men that showed up that had no stake in the game whatsoever. They weren't driving a boat for anybody. They didn't have any spouses in their boat, that just came to watch the weigh-in.
Yeah.
Good.
And I'm gonna tell you something. The group of ladies that we met and had a chance to interact with, it was an amazing time.
Yes.
It was awesome.
I mean, we still keep in contact with a lot of them, even if it's in passing on Facebook. I mean, those are connections that are far and few in between, because there's not a lot of us that do it.
Right. I know. Who did Cindy fish with last year?
I
I can't remember who she's.
don't know.
I know her partner this year, but I don't know who she fished with the last one.
But from what I understood, all the ladies said they had a blast. They're looking forward to the next one coming up, and that's what it's all about, ladies.
Yes.
Whether it's a local tournament, sometimes your local coffee can tournaments are fun. Because there's not a lot of pressure.
Our local tournament trail we fish is on the Mississippi River, and it's like going to breakfast and eating coffee and drinking coffee and eating breakfast with everybody on the weekends. I mean, you stand around talking more than you do anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, I look forward to it just to see everybody, catch up with everybody, see how they're doing.
Yeah.
How's your mama and them?
It's the Mississippi Catfish Trail, by the way. Yeah, they're Brian and his wife Lori and their daughter Cam, Pollywog Pits.
They do
Couldn't
an
ask for a
amazing
better
job.
group of people. And I mean, they're like family to us.
Yeah.
Lyle said Cindy fished with Hannah and Nikki Ishcomers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Say that again.
Lyle
She fished
said
with
Cindy fished with the Ishcomers, Hannah and Nikki.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I
I
think
knew
they
it was
won it.
somebody I couldn't remember the names. Now y'all have fished tournaments for quite a few years. Have you got to the point now that you don't let the tournament part eat you up? Make
Yes.
you
Just
pressure.
fishing.
It's
Make
just fishing, bro.
Just fishing.
Just fishing.
I hear so many times people say, "I dang, I got to give it 15 minutes. I got to give it 30 minutes. I got to move here. I got to move there." And I said, "You're gonna have a stroke. Stroke. Leave that pressure at home."
I don't like the tournament side, but I love everybody that's in the tournament. So I go to the tournament and to see everybody and just fish.
I mean, some of our best tournament fishes or finishings or just, best tournament fishing days. I mean, we're out there on the water laughing and cutting up, just fishing.
No pressure. I don't have no pressure.
I mean, you're just competing against yourself.
Only time I have pressure is when Adam Long is with me.
Jeez.
If Adam's with me, yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Uh-oh. I think there's a story coming with that, ain't there?
Nah, I wouldn't be where I'm at now without Adam. Adam's taught me a lot. He's a super awesome guy and even better fisherman. He is the man.
There's nothing wrong with that. And you got to have that. That's people that you can learn a lot from. Now, is he one of those people that he might not tell you, but you better watch and listen?
He'll tell you.
He'll talk to you. Uh-huh.
He's good. He might. He ain't gonna tell you where you caught him, but he might tell you how he caught him.
Right. You're right. And that's something. I got a few guys. I don't get to hit the water like I used to, but I can call them up and I say, "Hey, look, man, I hadn't been down there in a while, and I want to get on some fish today because I need to put at least one on a video just to say I was on the water." And he knows I'm not asking where the fish are. I'm asking why he chose that spot that them fish are running at right there. So even though I can't go to the spot he was at, I will be able to find my own spot.
Absolutely.
What helps y'all determine those spots where you're going to go? All right, you got a tournament on part of the water and you hadn't been there in a long time. What helps you make that decision of the spots that you want to choose to try first?
Honestly, gut.
Yeah.
Gut feeling. Collect every time you go out on the water going fishing, you collect data. I mean, you know what the temperature is, you know what the water level is right, you know what time of year it was. I mean, you store all that in your brain. And so you may not go there for 6 months, but when you're there last year and the water was at this level, at this temperature, and it was doing this thing, we were really successful over here. We might want to start over there.
Now, do you keep journals? Any of you keep a journal?
No.
I know she's talking about her brain, man. I don't have a brain, so I have to write stuff down.
I thought about it. I haven't done it yet.
I know people that do.
We got a Brad job. Brad keeps them.
Yeah.
It's a friend of ours.
Yes, sir.
All we got to do is let him know what we call him. He keeps it. If I need
There
a
you
reference, go back to Brad.
I mean,
The guy we had on Catfish Weekly 2 weeks ago, Matthew, he has got years of journals, not just catfish, but crappie, striper, everything. He's just one of those all-around great fishermen. He can go back in time and say, all right, this day, the fish was doing this because the water was doing this. He's very detailed in keeping it. Even though he's smart and he can probably remember it, but like he said, James, it all comes back to time on the water. Do y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The more you do it, the more you learn, and the more, like for me, like I've only been fishing with him for I started back fishing with him in 2018, so that's not quite 3 years. You know, the more you do it and the more you learn and the more familiar you get with it, the more you will retain, the more you'll remember.
And the more refined it gets.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you do it, you're refining your technique, even if it's cutting bait.
Yeah.
And the more comfortable you are doing it,
The better
you're going to be at it.
Yeah.
Now, I hate tying knots, but dadgummit, they make me.
I use the uni knot. That is my favorite knot besides the knot the snell knot on a hook. But I use the uni knot. It's a simple, easy, and the least invasive knot on line. Do y'all use what knots y'all prefer to use?
I think it's
I know,
called
like if you use braid, you use the double uni knot to tie your braids and your mono together.
I never tied. I connect them with
No.
swivels. I run braid down to a swivel, come off the swivel to the mono to the hook.
Right. And I do too, but I just wonder because some people do, tie them together like that. But okay.
I think that my favorite knot, I think it's called the tri-lane knot. You just go through the eye twice and twist it about 4 or 5 times and back through both
10, 11,
both
12,
loops. Yeah.
9,
I mean,
4,
I think so.
Yeah, I've used a uni knot for so many years. It's just I can tie it with my eyeballs shut. But I learned that from an old bass fisherman many years ago, and he showed me where they done tests on it and where the knot and all comes together. It puts less stress on your line right at that knot than all other knots. So where you get that stretch of a hard fight or whatever, you're more likely to break on the line than you are at the knot.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I've made myself learn it, because I trusted him. He's an old school. He's been doing it many years. Because there's something that y'all want to really bear down and talk a little bit about. We're getting close to the end of the night, and I really like to try to cover if there's something y'all really want to talk about that's dear to your heart, that you want to share with the public.
Go for it.
Well, I'll say this, and this will probably get a conversation started. I'm not sure, how many have noticed or even care, but I have started blurring the background in my photos on my Facebook post. And I take the location off because here recently, a few months ago,
I want to know what you're talking about.
there was someone caught stealing fish from, I believe it was Wheeler Lake, and they had 30,000 pounds in that truck, taking them to Pay Lakes. So I caught a little flack, when I started blurring my stuff out on the background, but that's why, because I don't want to educate the people that are stealing fish from the rivers and taking them to Pay Lakes, because I get angry. But yeah, that's a sore subject with me. I know just in the past 3 years that I've been fishing Wheeler Lake, I've not seen the number of big fish that we usually see. I think that the people that do that are having an effect on the lake, and it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's still some monsters in there, but
Yeah.
it's nothing like it was. I've been fishing Wheeler for 20 years, and it's nothing like it was.
I mean, just the quantity of fish, like just going out and catching a fish, just the quantity of fish, big fish, little fish, medium-sized fish, whatever fish, is drastically decreased. I mean, there's nights we've spent all night out there, a night, a day, part of the afternoon, and it's very sad.
Well, that's where it's coming back down to what we was talking about before we went live, is education. And I don't mind discussing some of the Pay Lake stuff. I don't allow it to get out of hand because it can, because we are very passionate about the fish that we chase. and it's hard not to get heated about that.
Yeah.
But I think that we as
I used to be
anglers,
a commercial fisherman. I
Say
used to
what?
be a commercial fisherman. That's how I put diapers on my babies. It was commercial catfishing. I mean, I understand both sides of it. So, I mean, the commercial fisherman's got to feed his family. I understand that. And
but at the same time, this is 2021.
yeah,
There are ways to make laws and educate people where the DNA and the big fish can be allowed to swim away and the smaller fish to be taken. And if it's taken in the proper numbers and the right education, then our waters will not be raped. I think that what y'all doing is not actually getting flaming mad, fighting and raising Cain all the time about it, but educating the people that's coming up. And sooner or later, the right ears are going to burn that can help make that difference.
Here's my
knock on
thing.
doors.
Yeah, I know that to have a healthy population, there needs to be, fish taken from the river. We love to eat catfish.
Yep.
My big thing is just the really big ones, like 40 pounds and up. Those are the ones I like to put those back so that my children or eventually my granddaughter can catch them as well and have the joy and the excitement that I felt, pulling that catfish in. That's
Right.
my thing.
Right. And once you take that DNA, once you break that DNA chain of a lake, the next thing you know, even when they stop all the harvesting of the big fish, a lot of times that DNA is gone. The big fish DNA is gone, and you end up with teeners and 20s at the biggest. It can change the whole dynamics of the water, and people don't realize how far back in that food chain that takes place. My computer's trying to restart itself. It's trying to do an update right in the middle of something. So it's that's where the education comes in, is not just, oh, they're taking big fish out. There's a reason why we don't want those big fish taken out. And I know that there's times when, like you said, waters do have to be cold. You do have to take fish out.
You do have to harvest.
Just like have you ever seen the video on the flathead catfish down in Florida, the big study they done? It's about a
Yes.
2.5 hour video. That is great information that it covered what we just talking about. You have to harvest, because if you don't, then you end up with water with little fish. Until you got a predator that can start that chain all over again and take out the weak, then you're going to be stuck with that. But over harvesting is hurting the waters. It is. And I know there's a lot more mouths to feed out there. But at the same time, we can't rape our waters, guys and gals. We can't. So if you in chat and you got a little bit of clout in these nice people's area, help them out. Knock on doors, write letters, bug them till somebody listens to help y'all out. I agree 100%. What do y'all say we give a set of bobbers away?
Sure.
We got a set of pink chick fight bobbers. That's what I'm going to call them from now on. Chick fight bobbers. Hey, give me a number. 1 to 5.
2.
2. 1 and 2. Lynn Leaper, congratulations. Thank you for coming in and watching Patriot James and Patriot Catfishers of America. Annie, Jolene, and Kathleen, thank you. Make sure that you contact me through Messenger, or you can text me at 704-600-8369, and we'll have you a set of pink floats on the way, my friend. And I think you'll like them. These are the new ghost floats. You unscrew the bottom. There's your light. Twist your light. It comes on. Stick it back in. Flip it on your line and you're ready to fish. The whole thing glows. So you're ready, set up. Just contact me and give me your information and we'll have them in the mail to you tomorrow if you hurry up. You got 24 hours or I'll send them to somebody else. Y'all, I appreciate you coming into the show tonight. It's been a great show, a lot of great information. Want to get you in again when closer to the chick fight.
Sure.
And maybe y'all can discuss a little bit about what's going on, what's getting ready to take place. Invite the ladies to come fish with you. Let's work it up. And if you don't mind, share the word. Well, I forget what you said her name was. Tell her to contact me.
I'll message her. Yeah, it's Melinda Bryan Folsom.
Okay. And I would love to send some floats for the giveaways at the captain's meeting. Thank you. It's been an honor. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
what y'all. I'm glad, and I appreciate what y'all are doing for the catfish community. You are a great voice for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Everybody, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, share it out there so we can get the information that these nice ladies and gentlemen shared with us. And we'll see y'all. Oh, actually, on Catfish Weekly next Monday night. We'll see y'all later. Stay put.